Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite tanking team in the Bay Area. Today's episode, Nikolai Knyzhov gets an extension, and then we talk about the CHL playoffs, look at the Sharks prospects, and which guys look like they have a potential long playoff run ahead of them. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you guys for making Locked on Sharks your first listen. Make sure you guys to follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. That way you know when the latest episode is available. So we're part of the Locked On Network where we cover your team every day. And today's episode, like I said, we're going to be discussing the CHL playoffs. So looking at the Sharks prospects, how their seasons have gone so far, and then kind of a quick overview of their teams and kind of what the expectations for their teams as they head into their playoffs. But before we get into that, I do need to talk about Nikolai Knyzhov, who did sign a 2-year extension for that will start at the beginning of next season. So again, Knyzhov, as a reminder, missed almost 2 seasons, dealt with a hernia and then an infection, and then tore his Achilles this offseason while training, trying to get back. So been a long road of recovery for him, but I love this deal. I think it's a great kind of show of faith from both sides. We saw Knyzhov, how hard he has worked to get back to this situation, and the Sharks kind of rewarding the guy for his hard work. And Knyzhov, showed a little bit of rest at first coming back, which was to be expected, especially when you haven't played hockey for nearly 2 seasons. But played a few games for the Sharks. I know he's back down with the Barracuda right now. The Sharks have a little bit of a logjam on the blue line, but again, I think this is a great opportunity, great for both teams or both parties in this situation where, again, rewarding a guy for all of his hard work, believing that he can kind of get back to what we saw his rookie season, where he's, really kind of took the Sharks by storm, kind of came out of nowhere and was a great presence on the blue line, especially as Erik Karlsson's partner as a rookie. And then there's a small bit of a risk, right, if Knyzhov gets hurt. But it's 2 years. It's not a long commitment, and it's only $1.25 million. You can, if you want to send him down to the Barracuda, most of his cap hit would go down with the Barracuda. It would be a very, very small amount that would stay up. That would still be on the Sharks' books if you do send him down to the Barracuda. But again, I think a guy like Knyzhov, where you can kind of see him starting to regain his form that we saw as a rookie. And I think an off season of him where he's not rehabbing, right, where he's just training and kind of getting back to form will do him wonders. And we'll see him kind of back to himself next season, I expect. So I like it for both sides. I think, again, rewarding a guy for all of his hard work, especially for overcoming everything he's had to kind of deal with the past 2 years. And then for the Sharks, you get, all said and done, you're getting a potential top 4 defenseman for about a little over $1 million, right? So if you have Benning and Knyzhov both at a little over $1 million, top 4 defenseman, you're not feeling too bad about that in the Shark situation. Just don't look at the Vlasic, Karlsson, or Ferraro contracts, and you'll be okay at that part. But anyway, going to be interesting to see what the Sharks continue to do with their blue line. Plenty of time this offseason to talk about that. So let's get into the CHL playoffs. So as a quick reminder, if you're maybe just kind of new to hockey or just kind of getting into it or just a little refresher, right? You have the CHL, which is the governing body of the Canadian Hockey League, basically all your juniors, right? That's divided into 3. You have the QMJHL, otherwise known as the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, or the Q. You have the OHL, the Ontario Hockey League, and then the WHL, the Western Hockey League, and the Sharks have representation in each of these playoffs. Some, the OHL more than the others, but so what will happen, they will all basically play their version of the playoffs, award a champion out of each one, and then we'll have a small playoff tournament to kind of determine who's the best in the land between all three leagues. So, and I think the hosting city automatically gets entry. So there's it's fun. It lasts until like June. It's almost like until like the Stanley Cup. So it'll be fun. A lot of fun here. So and the Sharks have some guys who might be playing very, very late into the season. So let's get into, we're going to start from the East and work our way to the West because apparently that's how things are done. Let's start in the queue with one Jake Furlong. So, of course, Jake Furlong, defenseman drafted in the 2022 fifth round out of Halifax. 67 games, 7 goals, 43 assists, 153 shots on goal for the defenseman. So he's had himself a pretty solid offensive season. Reminder, in the Quebec Major Junior League, there are a lot more offensively prone. The defense isn't kind of what you would hope for. As you know, Hattie talked about the other day when we did Ethan Cardwell, you can get away with a lot more stuff in the queue. It's more offense type of situation. So you will see a lot of Halifax. We'll get into it here in a second. They can put up some points, and they had a lot of guys put up a ton of points this season. So they are a 2 seed in the Quebec Major Junior League. I just like saying Quebec a lot. They're a 2 seed in the, like I said, they'll be playing the Cape Breton Eagles. So this season, the two teams, I think Halifax won like 6 out of the 8 games or something like that. Just kind of absolutely dominated the two. Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. So wow, that's a pretty nice little. So yeah, they played 6. They went 6-2-1 in this regular season. The Breton Eagles, like I said, they were, they're kind of a team. They're nowhere near Halifax when it comes to just like kind of the sheer amount of points and what Halifax put up 335 goals this year, which is insane. Like I said, they put up a lot of points. They know how to fill the net. So they are led by such players as Jordan Dumas, who had 140 points in 64 games. Josh Lawrence had 119 points in 69 games. He was a trade midway through the season. Alexander Doucette, 115 points. Like, they have 3 guys who put up over 100 points and had at least 50 goals between the 3 of them. So, yeah, they can outscore a lot of their problems. So those are going to be kind of their guys. Furlong's been playing top pairing minutes for them. Expect him to be a big part of Halifax and as they continue to try to. And then, Zachary Leroux. Also he was Nashville's first round pick last year. Didn't score as well as those other guys, but he can definitely light the lamp. I know he got suspended for a good chunk of this end of the season for a incident. I think he got into it with a fan and like jabbed him with his stick or something like that, if I remember correctly. So anyway, though, Halifax is one of those teams that could be playing for everything at the end of the season. So keep an eye out. Again, Furlong could be having a very, very long playoff run. So before we get into the OHL, and then we'll talk about the WHL, do want to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our friends over at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat and you want to cut out all the fat and calories, and you got to try Built Bar. Great thing about them is they taste amazing because they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. They come in great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, And each bar only has 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. If you're like me and you hate waiting for things to come in the mail, now you can head over to your local Walmart or Sam's Club to grab a box today. At Walmart, you can get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, you can run in and grab a 13-bar box of their hit flavors, brownie, batter, and churro. Or you don't like leaving your house or you want a huge selection, check out Built.com. They have new flavors all the time. I like the variety packs. So one day you're feeling cookies and cream, one day you're feeling raspberry, one day you're feeling churro. They got you covered there. Or if you want to figure out which one is your favorite, head over to Built.com or check out Walmart and Sam's Club today. All right, next in the OHL. So we have Ethan Cardwell, the 2021 4th-round pick out of Barrie, had a very, very nice season for the Barrie Colts. 62 games, 43 goals, 47 assists, 258 shots on goal. His goal was to go back and dominate it, and he had 90 points in 62 games this season. So pretty solid domination from Ethan Cardwell. So I'm going to go through all the players really quick, and then we'll go back and talk about their respective teams and kind of the engines behind their teams. So next, Benjamin Gaudreau, 2021 3rd-round pick from Sarnia. 44 games, 889 save percentage, 307 goals against, over 1,000 saves. He really found his groove after World Juniors. If you remember, he came on the podcast and talked about World Juniors. Kind of struggled to be in the season, but I think really found his groove. Really saw his save percentage jump up. Way more consistent. Just kind of really kind of turned into the guy Sarnia was hoping for it, and Sharks fans are hoping for that he can be. So he's going to be a big key for Sarnia heading into these playoffs and what they could potentially do. They're a 3 seed, but they could be one of those teams where Gaudreau just plays lights out. They have plenty of scoring. They've got a little bit of everything. And if Gaudreau can continue to play the way he's played, we could be talking about Gaudreau having a very long run as well. So Artem Guryev, the 2021 5th-round pick out of Flint. If you remember, he was traded from the Peterborough Petes to Flint kind of around Christmas time-ish, if I remember, somewhere around there. Really struggled with Peterborough, was suspended multiple times, just kind of you saw the physicality, but you couldn't really see the offense. And when he got to Flint, he really found his offensive game. 47 games this season, he ended up with 7 goals. He had 0 at the time of the trade. Ended up with 7 and then 9 assists with 50 shots on goal. So definitely know about the physicality part of his game. If he can provide some offense, if you remember, the Sharks he was one of the last players to kind of leave Sharks camp before, I think he played in one of the last preseason games before they headed to Europe. So just keep an eye on Guryev, especially if he can be consistent offense. Don't expect like a, huge, like a Jake Furlong or something like that type of offensive. But if he can score and he can tone down the penalties, those are kind of the big keys for him. Max McCue, London Knights 2021 5th-round pick, played 58 games, 13 goals, 26 assists, 79 shots on goal. Really kind of solidified himself in the middle 6 of London. I was hoping he would kind of work himself into the top 6 a little bit more, provide a little bit more offense. But London, they just churn out NHL caliber talent all the time. And they're always a good team. So we will kind of continue to get into them. As for the OHL, so like I said, London Knights, a 2 seed. They'll be playing the Owens Down in the first round. Sarnia, a 3 seed. They'll be playing the Gulf Storm. Is it Gulf or Guelph? Anyway, they'll be playing those guys. Former Ryan Merkley team. The Flint Firebird, they'll be playing the Saginaw Spirits, who I believe just won the rights to the next year's Cup, Memorial Cup. So Flint is I believe they're a 5 seed, 4 or 5 seed, 5 seed. So, And then on the other side of the bracket, it's just Barrie Colts. They are a 3 seed as well, and we'll be playing the Hamilton Bulldogs. For the London Knights, like I said, they're very kind of a deep, talented team. They don't have the same guys that they had last year. Last year they had a few guys who were just like absolutely on fire. I think one of the Stars guy, I think a Stars guy and a Nashville guy, if I remember correctly. Anyway, a little bit more balance this year. Like guys like Sean McGurn, George Diaco, and then Denver Barquet kind of leading the way for them. All those guys are above 70 points, or Barquet had 59 points, but that's kind of been they're just more deep in talent kind of than having those superstar type of guys. So this year, at least. As for the Sarnia Sting, they're led offensively by Ty Voigt. He had 105 points in 67 games this year, was a Toronto 5th round pick in the 2021 draft. Then Sasha Pushashov, who is a Ducks pick, so we'll get used to him. He also had 98 points. He was acquired kind of mid-season as well. Luca Del Bel Boulouz, Nolan Burke, like they have plenty of guys who can score. Christian Cairo, again, Sarnia's really set themselves up to be kind of all in this year, especially with the trades that they have made. Christian Cairo related to Jordan Cairo, Dallas 2nd round pick. So, but for them, I think it's going to come down to Ben Gaudreau. Ben Gaudreau can play really good hockey. We saw it last year in the playoffs where, if you remember, this team was outshot by 100. He faced 100 more shots in these 6 games than his counterpart. So, and they almost stole that series. So they lost in 6, and they almost stole that series based on the back of Gaudreau. So if Gaudreau can play that way with the offense that they have in front of them, they have a very, very good chance to go really, really deep. So after Sarnia, we have Flint Firebirds. So they have Amadeus Lombardi as their kind of the engine behind them. He is a Red Wings draft pick. He had 105 points this year with 45 goals. Gavin Hayes, another 81 points from him. Riley Piercy. So they've got a couple guys here and there. And then their goalie was also a Blues pick, Will Cranley. So those are kind of, again, I think it'll take a little bit for them, especially being as a 5 seed, but that those are kind of their guys for them going forward. Barrie Colts, Ethan Cardwell, among one of their leaders. He was 2nd on the team in points, 43 goals, 47 assists. Evan Verling had 95 points, 35 goals, and 60 assists. He was a Rangers 5th round pick in the 2020 draft. They have Bo Gelsema, who draft eligible guy last year, probably should have been drafted. As another one of their offensive guys. And then Brant Clark, of course, was the pick right after William Eklund. He had 61 points in 31 games. Just a reminder, Brant Clark plays defense. So he was at 2 points. He was basically a 2-point per game player in playing on defense for them. Yeah, he's really good. He's going to be really, really nasty for the Kings once he gets there. So, yes. So that is kind of a representation of the OHL. Before we finish up with the WHL, do want to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. So tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's right, because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. You can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, let's finish up in the West. So, of course, the Western Hockey League, the Sharks only have one player, which is really sad. I like the WHL. Mason Beaupit, he was, of course, traded midseason to the Winnipeg Ice. Really turned his game around, coming over to the Winnipeg Ice. Here, I'm going to pull up his splits here in a second. It's pretty insane, just like how much of a difference. So, started the season with the Spokane Chiefs, played 9 games and was just getting absolutely murdered. Had a .558 goals against average and .833 save percentage. Went 0-8 during that time. Comes over to Winnipeg Ice, who are one of the best teams in all of the WHL. Played a backup for them, 22 games, had a .308 goals against average and .892 save percentage during that time. So ended the season in 31 games with .875 save percentage, .415 goals against, and 761 saves. So just absolutely kind of changed his season going over. That's what happens when you play with good teams and not one of the worst teams in the WHL. So this team is absolutely insane. The Winnipeg Ice, they are the number 1 seed in the WHL. Some of the players on their team, Zach Benson, going to be the probably 4th or 5th pick in the NHL draft this year. Matthew Savoy, top 10 pick last year. Connor Geekie, high draft pick. They're Carson Lambos, like Carson Latimer. They have a bajillion guys who are all really good. It's pretty crazy that this team, this could be a team that is, and they've been ranked as like the first team in the CHL a lot this season. Like this is a team that could be hoisting multiple trophies this playoff run. So like I said, Beaupit's been kind of more of a backup for them. They've been Daniel Hauser, who's played 42 games, has a .228, .917 save percentage. Absolutely ridiculous. Kind of surprised he's not 2004. I wonder if I think he's a potential draft eligible player. Anyway, keep an eye on him. So, but again, you're playing in front of a absolutely stacked team. So, they're going to be, again, one of those teams who I think could win it all. They're really good. They have a lot of NHL caliber players on their team right now. So plenty of Sharks playoff hockey to continue to watch. Again, we're most likely not getting playoff hockey. We're not getting any from the Sharks, of course. Probably not getting any from the Barracuda. They're a couple points out. They're going to need to go on a huge run, and they're running out of bodies here. So this might be your way to enjoy some playoff hockey by watching some of the Sharks prospects. So plenty of opportunities for some of these guys to go really long. I think a team like, Sarnia, I could just see Gaudreau just kind of having his moment and making a really deep run, because I think that team is talented. I think Gaudreau is really good I think he has a chance of being really good. So going to be a lot of fun. So we'll continue to kind of track some of these guys as the WHL playoffs go along. I think between Halifax, you've got Halifax, London, and Sarnia and Winnipeg. Like all those teams potentially could win the whole thing. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Seattle Thunderbirds, though, that team is ridiculous too. They have a lot of good players as well. So anyway, that's going to be it for me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the next Sharks slaughter. I shouldn't say that. They beat the Jets. How can you beat the Jets? Anyway, so recap that. Maybe we'll throw something fun at the end of that podcast too as well. Next week, another draft profile. Lucas Dragovic. I've heard it like 1,000 times. I like watched the videos on the highlights to try to learn the name. I'm still, Liz is going to text me because yes. Anyway, Half-Full Hockey joins next week. We do have a really nice conversation about him, and we talk about kind of the Sharks, how they've kind of remade their defensive prospect pool on the fly. So really fun conversation. Make sure you guys check that out next week. Make sure you guys are following the show. Again, you can follow on YouTube. All the episodes drop first on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you guys are following on. That way you guys know when the latest episode is available. Here at Locked On Sharks, your team every day. That's pretty cool, right? Your team every day. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Until tomorrow. Bye, friends.